the reason why everybody be asking me, when your podcast dropping, when you gonna do a podcast, it's because I really don't know, like, I don't know that side of the business, and for the things that I'm learning, I'm trying to get as closest to what it is that I want.
Right.
Like, me personally, like, I don't mind being on a network, but I don't want to own a network.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be the boss of everything. I like talking, so I would like to be compensated to talk, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to go into a building and be like, yo, if y'all, like, remember, it goes back to that whole, what I feel like I'm worth. If y'all niggas don't give me $100 million, I can't do it.
I mean, but that's
the problem with that, with even taking the approach of trying to decide on a number, is that it always changes.
It always
changes. So no matter what your experience is, no matter what your, like, we talk about this all the time with friends who, my friends who are hairstylists and makeup artists and things like that. My close friends who've been doing makeup for 10, 15 years can paint a face, honey, in 45 minutes or less. You're not paying for the time. You're paying for the experience that it took them to get to that place to do it for 45 minutes. You're paying for the quality of the product.
Yeah.
So whether or not I think that's the hard part, because we don't know how to quantify, especially as talent, especially as a creative, you don't know how to quantify necessarily what your product is.
And that's the thing.
There's a difference between being an artist and creating a product that's marketable, that's profitable, and also being talent and being the product.
Well, and that's the thing in podcasting, which we could definitely talk about this off air. You're not only talent, you are your business. So you want to be sure you own the IP, but also say y'all are trying to get ads. A lot of ads pay at a net 30 or net 60. So what I learned in school,
most labels also pay at net 30 or net 60.
So you're doing the work, you're not getting paid for a month or two later. But the thing that I've seen even with other podcasters, I'm like, well, have you talked about what your CPM is? Do you know what this ad is worth? And literally I was sending out invoices on net 30 and net 60 with my little Excel spreadsheets. You have to be your own accountant, your own business person,
or a person that you trust could put
or
a
person that you trust.
Yeah.
But also,
most creatives and most artists anyway trust the wrong people first.
Sometimes they trust the wrong people. But
we learn that the hard way.
Some of them kick the people that they trust out the whip too.
That too. You know that happens a lot. And then the whip falls apart because they thought they brought a Range Rover, and in fact it's a Lego. Carry on.
I say this, like, when it comes to, especially with doing deals, like, one thing about, like, if you're an artist, if you hot, you can ask for anything. Yep. Like, I'm talking about I've seen niggas ask for a Ferrari and get it. Yo, I need Ferraris, I need this, I need that, I need third.
Bridget is shaking her head.
No, for real.
It's true. It's embarrassing.
But the thing about it is
because they never ask for the right shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
They don't ask for socks.
You could have a hit record by accident. You could look at somebody like a Billie Eilish who probably had no fucking concept that she was writing hit records with her brother in a fucking tiny ass LA apartment.
Right.
No concept at all of the quality of what she was creating. If at any point once that became a number one record, if you have a smart group of business people around you, they're going to be like, nope, ask for your masters. Ask for something else. Don't ask for fucking Ferrari.
That's actually what happened with Call Her Daddy with Barstool.
Yeah.
They created a product that was really good. Of course, they got the push from Barstool, but they gave their entire IP over to them, and they got paid as talent, and then saw they were making.
But I seen that happen with clothing lines. I seen people sell like they fucking clothing line to like Iconics, who Iconics owns BBC, Rockaware, all that other shit, and you sell it to them, and then your product becomes watered down. Like, think about it goes back to what's that shit? How to Make It in America. I remember the kid, they was talking about Zoo York.
Yep.
How Zoo York was like Supreme at one point in time.
I used to go to that store.
Right, but it was at one point in time it was like Supreme.
It was at the Florida Mall.
Triple Five Soul,
but see,
Brooklyn
the thing
Industries,
is
they were all in the same thing.
But once once they sold it, it became a PacSun.
Yep.
And that's why you think, like, the exclusivity, nobody wants anything that anybody else could have, even if they can get it. Right? It's like, that's why they mark up the price on sneakers so high. That's why they tell you that something, this is the rarest thing ever. This shit could be a water bottle. They be like, this is it's from Tibet. They made the plastic out of this.
That's what Supreme do. They just put the name on it.
But Supreme, what they did that was genius is that they just built their brand into something that people needed to have no matter what. And you know who's the human version of Supreme? Travis Scott. Like, Travis Scott Travis Scott could do that. Nigga could make Black and Mild cool.
First off, Black and Mild is
Black and Mild ain't cool.
We're gonna make Black and Mild
cool. He could make the brown. Look, you know his sneakers is brown. That nigga could do a Black and Mild pack, and I promise you, everybody in their mother.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what this reminds me of? And this is real. I don't know if they did it up in New York. They had to. I'm sure it started. What? Y'all remember the Air Force Ones that used to be like M&Ms and like they used to put all the little
y'all wore that corny shit and stuff.
No, we never.
Oh, was that a Southern thing?
Yeah, them sure was.
Never
did that.
Wearing that colorful. The niggas is still rocking that right now. What you talking
my
about?
God.
You can find a nigga in Baton Rouge with those on right now.
But you know what? But also like they were so cool because also you got paint jobs in these. I'm sure I saw Black and Mild car.
In the South.
Y'all never. Okay.
A Black and Mild car?
Like M&M cars, Looney
they was doing it. I've been in Texas. They was doing that shit.
The car, the brand car, the car wrappings are.
They was doing
it
that.
It was
shit.
like paint, like on the cars.
But no, I mean the thing is that the product, like ultimately,
we need a Southern person in here. Sorry, I really be trying to live my childhood.
You do.
Y'all said I was born in 2012, but I try to share my childhood. And
you were.
Y'all just don't get it.
We tried to talk about Jodeci. You were like, it's Casey and JoJo. Like, ma'am,
dog. That we only described them two niggas as Jodeci. Like it's Jodeci and Dalvin and Devontae. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's how they described them.
And Devontae with the ad libs, so everybody knew what time it was.
I will never be great on this podcast.
You will. You're always great.
No, but ultimately, I think like when it comes to from a management standpoint, is it's like I always built my price point based on like what was offered. It was like, okay, everybody knows at a point in time I used to manage Dave East. You know what I'm saying? So it was like when our first show we ever did, we got paid $450 and we was happy as shit.
Shut the fuck up.
I swear to God, we was happy.
$450?
$450. We did the shit in Drum. On Drum.
And LES. Yep.
Because Dave was doing shows for free.
Right.
You know what I mean, we did SOBs and all that for free. So the first show we did was $450. Then that $450, like it turned into we got with CAA, which you know is a fucking monster on the booking side, on the agency side. And the way my homegirl had explained it to me, like, yo, listen, just take these nothing checks because being affiliated with us and doing these rooms, we gonna be able to build your price point. Right. So we opened up for Currency, got paid $200, you know what I'm saying, in DC.
Oh, wow.
But we opened up for 2,500 people. So we spending our own bread to go down to DC to not make no money because that shit grew from that to us doing shows for 15,000 eventually. Because once we got the 5,000, we kept it at 5,000. But once we got more hot, once we got that double XL freshman shit, I'm like, nah, if anybody want to do it, we got to get 10. Then that 10 went to 20. Then we was even doing shows for 30 at a certain point in time. You know what I'm saying? But you build it based on your momentum. But the thing about it is you always remember that term, strike while the iron's hot. Because when we did our deal, we asked for everything. I asked them niggas for everything on the planet. Yeah, I need an office. I need $250,000 in overhead. I need this. We didn't get all of that, but we fell in the middle and we all walked away happy. Right. So the thing is like you always got to leverage is the most important conversation. You know what I'm saying?
I think too when you want to as a creative, as an artist too, we're not taught how to leverage our relationships within our network. And that's something I had to learn. Right. That's something I had to learn even as a woman, right? Like understanding that there's going to be women in certain offices, in certain places, whether it's at Viacom, whether it's at Essence, whether it's at, SoundCloud or wherever. Having women or having advocates in those places, especially as a woman, saves your life, saves your career. 100% saves your career. Like I got asked to guest host something on Fuse, and it was like myself and Seven, and we had to her and I had to like read from a teleprompter and be animated and do all that shit. I'm a nerd. I love to read. I can read out loud. I can read out loud very well. I can read a teleprompter very quickly. And all of that stuff was like, it was a no-brainer. And the producer was like, yo, why aren't you doing more of this? Why aren't you doing
I told you.
Why aren't you doing a lot of this stuff?
Shit.
Because a lot of the time too, at the time that I came up as an artist, starting as an artist, I came up in that generation, we talk about this all the time, where it's like you have your artist persona and then everything else is personal, is behind closed doors. So nobody really sees your personality. I'm an R&B singer, so you're never going to know that I'm funny, that I'm nerdy, that I'm, you know what I mean?
Because y'all not supposed to be funny.
We're not supposed to be funny. We're not supposed to have personalities. We're not
supposed to just be in love or in party
in love or hurting.
You gotta be hurt. It can't be.
We're supposed to be mystical creatures that are completely untouchable and inaccessible, and that never worked for me. Right. What was always advantageous for me was the fact that I was personable. So even during a show, if I'm introducing my video on 106 in Park, I'm backstage cracking jokes and kicking it with Terrence and Roxy, and it's like, yo, you're actually actually mad cool.
Right.
And not that I ever gave off. But I'm just saying.
I just used to want to be in the audience.
For real?
I used to be like, I'm going to fly to New York and be in the audience of 106
people
Park.
were always surprised. And I didn't realize I did a lot for free. I used to hit VH1 all the time and be like, yo, I just want to host. You're doing a tribute for who? I just want to be a part of it.
But
I'll
you know they
perform
call
for
it
free.
paying dues, right?
Right.
No,
but even
or they say... Or they don't want to cut you a check for exposure.
Or you're in the room.
Right. Well, here's the thing. When you first start out, even if you have a name and doing all of that, being a good person, and I stand 100%. On this, your character is what keeps you there. Your talent can get you in the room.
Yeah.
It's not going to keep you in a conversation if you don't have a hit. See, the minute that fucking flame dies out, if you're not a good, I still have people that hit me to this day from like a first interview I did with like Hello Beautiful in 2011, who will hit me up for something and be like, you know who'll be really dope for this, Bridget? You know who'll be really like, and shout out to Curtis and Coltrane from Team Epiphany, because they call me with stuff all the time. And even if I can't get my rate, I have enough relationships at this point now that I'm like, I know where, you know what I'm saying? I know where I can massage it a little bit and I'll take a little less for the sake of maintaining the relationship.
I ain't gonna lie, like, so the thing is like, you know, I wasn't in media
at all. Say that again.
all.
See, the thing is.
What?
Oh, sorry.
You did. You said it. It was good.
I did?
You did. See, the thing is, yeah, it was great.
I said that?
It was great. You did. It was wonderful.
Shit.
It was great.
That's
you didn't
crazy.
even know. Look at that. You
I didn't even know I
it.
said that. But so like I was in, you know, I was behind the scenes. I always wanted to be a rich person that nobody knew.
That's where I'm at.
I always wanted to be a rich person that nobody knew.
I didn't. I wanted to be rich. I wanted to be the one with the fire. I wanted to come in and there be fireworks and fucking flower petals like I was coming into Zamunda.
Everyday Struggle, right? When I got on Everyday Struggle, and they was like, yeah, we gonna send a car for you and all that. I'm like, y'all gonna send a car? I'm like, all right, cool. And then I did, and then they told me to come back, because when they told me to come back, I'm like, come back for what? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, no, for real, because I never viewed myself as ever being a person on camera to speak.
Right.
Like, I never, like, you see how you say you have no problem reading? I'm not the kid in the class that, I could read, but I hated that shit. Every time we did a play in school, I was like, just let me be the tree. Like, I don't want to, like, for real, like, let me be the tree. I don't want to.
You gonna be my guy right here in the corner.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I never wanted to be in camera, but
we're gonna call him Sanchez.
See, the thing with me was,
keep it in the family.
When I learned, like, when they showed me what they was gonna pay me, I was like, oh, y'all niggas don't have to pay me to shut up now.
Right.
Oh, shit.
Like, for real. Because the thing is, I didn't know that I could make money to speak.
Oh,
so then the same monies that I used to chase after for artists, I get now for myself.
Right.
So I'm just like, but I learned how to leverage, you know, me being on such a big platform. Me going around and making my rounds and doing podcasts with people and being a person that can be on your podcast so we can have fun together. Like, I use that for my fee. Like, you want to talk to me? I got you paid, my nigga.
It makes
sense. What I'm saying? And I do favors. Like, this is not a favor. I fuck with y'all and I like y'all platform.
Thank you.
Because, you know, people be like, oh, this is going to start the rumor. Like, you know, Wayne will probably ask Brad for something. Come on. Not at all.
No. Like, I mean, because you are on a press run right now. I'm just saying.
Nah, I'm not on the press run.
You went to the West Coast to get on the pod.
No. I went to the West Coast to do some work.
No, you went to the West Coast to get out the snow, because that's really what
that's
happened.
one of the main things. Nah. But I went to, you know, I'm a vice president at Asylum Records. You know what I'm saying? So I went there. We working on Sada Baby album.
Flex has been brought to you by.
Oh, y'all do that? That's mad funny.
Every time.
That's mad funny.
We usually let you get it off, and then we're like,
we wasn't gonna let you get off showing off that watch though. But
I just did that because I was bored one day. But look, what I'm saying is that, like, you know, I learned that I don't have to be one thing. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing I learned about my career. I started off with Rockefeller. You know what I'm saying? Being in the mailroom, working my way up to an internship, getting a job, working on albums, getting out of that shit, starting a management company, having a few artists that fail, have a few artists that work. And then I jumped into media. So it's like every time I speak, I just be wanting these kids, dudes, young ladies, no matter where you from, to understand that you don't have to be one thing.
Right.